Welcome to Reading the Green, our golf and fantasy sports show. My name is Mike with Kyle, just Kyle, on Tuesday, April 2nd. This is episode 104, the Valero Texas Open preview and the Houston Open recap. Kyle, 2 weeks in a row without Jordan. We're going to get kind of crazy.
I hope we don't lose all the dedicated fan base that comes for Jordan's deep hitting fantasy advice every week. But I will say, I'm sure there's at least some out there that just are here for the inappropriate jokes from time to time. I'm not good. I'm not good at bringing that energy.
I guarantee I will get at least one DM in the next couple of days that will say, "Oh, bring Jordan back. We want the innuendo." Sorry.
We'll try to bring it to you. We'll try to fill the void. Hopefully, we'll have Jordan back next week for a live pod, right?
We're gonna do a live. When we say live, that means we do it in person.
Oh,
sometimes people think it's live and they're like, "Oh, we could watch you on live stream." Someday we will get to that. But no, just in person. It's usually a little bit more fun. And I want to talk about Masters a little bit because we're so close. But the first thing I wanted to bring up, though, Kyle, since we recorded last Tuesday, is Major League Baseball has started. And there's something about, March, April. I'm rocking my Twin Cities hat, which, side note, I really like this hat. I think the Twin Cities branding on the Twin stuff is really cool. I think most people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you're one of those people that's just wearing like a Chicago hat or a Paris hat that you bought in the airport." A lot of people have no idea that it's a Twins hat.
Who was the actor during the All-Star game the one year that had the MLB hat on? Rob, and everyone was just making fun of him on Twitter. He just had a general.
No, I think it was Rob Lowe. It might have been NFL.
Yeah, no, it was Rob Lowe.
The Super Bowl.
Yeah. MLB hat.
Oh yeah, so that's kind of the. But anyways, so here's the thing about March and April baseball, is you get that delusional optimism for your squad, where I'm a Twins fan. We made the playoffs last year. We broke the curse, all that stuff of just winning a game. And now I think it's World Series or bust, right? And that's every other baseball fan for the next 6 weeks until reality kicks in. So how are you feeling about the Cubs this year?
Well, the Cubs are winning 12-2 right now. So it's on right here. So they're going all the way, right? This will put them 3-2 in the season. I'm actually going to be in person at Wrigley Field on Saturday. I might need some, feet warmers to stay warm, but I'll be there. So yeah, I'm excited. They flirted. They missed the playoffs by a game last year. Have a lot of the studs back. Added a pitcher to the rotation. So yeah, Mike, I'm excited. I'm ready for some baseball.
Well, in here in Minneapolis, we have our wonderful owners, the Pohlads, saying they're going to spend less money on a team that went the deepest in the playoffs in the last 20 years. And yet we should somehow be convinced that they're better, which I kind of am. And that's the best thing about the baseball season, is I can cheer really hard for the next 6 weeks, then totally give up for 4 months, and then check back in at the end of August and see if I need to start cheering again.
So the Pohlad thing, though, wasn't that all around them losing the regional sports like Bali Sports North and the bankruptcy and the money that was flowing back to them? But correct me if I'm wrong, Bali Sports North is still watchable, and if you want to pay for a subscription, you can still pay $20 a month for it. So
where'd the money go? Where's that money going? Yeah, I know. I don't follow it that closely, but so anyways, I'm pumped. I'm pumped for baseball. I'm so pumped that I said, "Kyle, should we get a little deeper into MLB DFS?" And your answer was definitely.
I feel like I might have soft pedaled at first, but you knew I was in, and so yeah, we're in.
Well, we're in. We have no idea. I have a lot of learning to do, but it'll at least keep me engaged in the season a little bit, and we'll check in a couple of weeks. We'll see if it's a total train wreck or not.
So I have done it a season before with a mixed bag of success. I did not do it last year, but I'm back. It's been a rough start, but this time of year is hard with the weather. We're talking about cold baseball. We're talking about rainy baseball. It's a little different.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, let's talk about a place that the weather's never bad, even if it's raining, and that's Augusta. And so in roughly 10 days, 9 days, we'll be tuning in to the first round of the Masters. What's on your mind right now, 9 days out? I mean, we didn't really tee up a ton of deep Masters dives for this episode, but kind of what's on your mind?
Actually, probably the biggest thing on my mind is who from our Calcutta pool is going to be in the field from our season long. Uh, and we should have talked about this pre-pod to have been a little bit more prepared. But Dietrich withdrew this week. And when I look at the official world golf rankings, he's not top 50. Does he have another path in? But
I don't
what
know
am
that
I
he
missing?
is. I don't think he is in.
'Cause I think
So
he's
why
like
did he
60
withdraw?
Yeah, he moved way up. I think he got to like 64th. I mean, the 14, unless somebody on his team did the math and be like, hey, you're not getting top 50 if you don't win, and the Oaks is a bad course for you, so don't even try. But come on, man.
That seems a little the don't
Yeah, I
try.
mean,
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
6 of the last 7 champions here have earned their way into the field because they are not already in the field. So
Well,
that's what's on my mind, Mike, is who from our Calcutta pool could get in. And as we prep for next week, who should we have our eye on for a little Masters Calcutta action?
there is some strategizing going on behind the scenes with how we're going to handle that. It's a pretty sizable pot, but the Masters is it's a fun deal, and I think we could have a good angle there.
I did see this. The most interesting tweet I saw today about the Masters was that it was a soundbite from one of the grounds crew that the winter was absolutely perfect for them from a condition standpoint of the course. So they'll be able to have it exactly where they want to when it comes to green speeds and firmness of the greens. They're not going to have to, do something different just because of Mother Nature.
Well, we have 7 days to come up with all the takes, which of course we will have in our episode next Tuesday. The other thing that was on my mind is whether or not I should spend anywhere from $100 to $200 for a Taste of the Masters sampling kit. Have you seen these?
No, I have not seen this.
So
it did remind me of something else after you talked about this.
So for $179.95, you can get a 24-ounce container of egg salad, 24 ounces of pimento cheese, pork barbecue, plain potato chips, barbecue potato chips, cookies, Georgia pecan caramel popcorn, Masters branded souvenir cups, Masters branded wax paper, Masters coasters, and hosting kit materials. $180.
I have low expectations for the barbecue pork.
After it traveled, who knows how far?
I'm out on the pimento cheese, obviously. I feel like we should just, maybe we could do some trademark infringement and
do our own. Yeah, I mean Jordan brought me a few souvenir cups a few years ago, so I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I like the concept of recreating your own Augusta menu, but I don't need the actual product from Augusta.
So for my oldest's first birthday, so she and I have birthdays Masters week back to back. We're one day apart, Masters week every year. This year it's going to be Wednesday, Thursday. And for her first birthday, which was on a Masters Sunday, she had a Masters themed birthday party where we made all kind of Masters / Southern inspired food, had a little custom putting green Masters cake. And she asked me, this year she's having a gymnastics and unicorn party for her 6th birthday, but next year she asked me if she could have a Masters birthday again. So we're headed in the right direction.
So should we, where I was going to go once you asked about that is, should we, instead of having beer next week as typical, should we pivot to have azaleas, the cocktail?
I don't know what goes in it, but can we?
It's
what do I got to buy?
Good vodka. Now you can't get away with that crappy stuff. Good vodka here. Pineapple juice, lemon juice, not lemonade. It explicitly says in a little grenadine.
Sounds really good.
It was floating around. This one's on golf.com.
I did see it. I did see it on the
Twitter
internet.
a
I
little
did.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds really good. Not a
Nice
bad
and
idea.
refreshing.
Not a bad idea. Kyle, you're up to something. Speaking of, do you want to talk about what we are drinking tonight and then talk a little pro golf?
Yeah, I got a Blackstack beer. It's a once a day IPA is what it's called. Microdosing Mosaic. Get your daily dose of this IPA we dose daily. Basically, they every day, primary for fermentation, they put some more hops in it. Mosaic.
Interesting.
Love it. It's great.
It's pretty
it's
cool.
great.
I was thinking, I was like, God, I've had that beer. And then I remembered that we came over to your house on Saturday night and I drank one.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There was two missing. You had more than one.
Yeah, I could tell you that by the time I got home. I am currently drinking standby Raindrops from Barrel Theory. I don't often buy Rain. It's excellent. It's the flagship IPA at Barrel Theory over in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I don't normally buy it because it's great and I've had it. But I was told by Bill over France 44, my guy, that this is the best batch that has come out for Raindrops that they've been distributing. Kind of the closest to what you get on site in St. Paul. And if you remember, when Barrel Theory first started distributing 16-ounce cans, they pulled their first distribution of Raindrops because they like messed up the recipe and they just couldn't have it on shelves. So supposedly it's been like an iterative process to figure out how to can it correctly. And I did not know this. All Raindrops is brewed at Fair State Brewing.
I did not know that either.
It's not a collaboration. They just, for whatever reason, use the equipment over at Fair State. And that had something to do with the original distribution, was that Fair State, like something happened, some of the yeast got mixed up and it made the whole batch go sideways. But there you go. It's not a collab, but it's brewed at Fair State.
Does Fair State have an off location brewery outside of the one attached to
On
the
Central?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. That is a fun fact for probably only I care about. But yeah, it's a fun fact.
All right. Let's talk about the Texas Children's Houston Open. I got a couple of thoughts here. So we had just right at the bat, Steven Yeager gets his first win on the PGA Tour. I mean, this is a guy he's been around for a while. He's 34 years old, out of Germany. He's been around for a while, but really took a step up in his golf game in the last 12 months. I mean, a lot has been made. Where did he flash at Torrey Pines? I think he finished. I think he was up there with Pavone and a few others, but
and he had that made cut streak for a while too. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot was made of some of the changes that he's made to his golf swing and to his body to gain distance, and he really just kind of swings the club freakishly hard and hits it ridiculously straight. If you've been paying attention to the PGA Tour for the last 6 months, you know that he's been trending in the right direction. And so for me, it's really cool as a fan to see that pay off. Very happy to see him win. Scotty would have been cool too to witness the moment of a three-peat, which hasn't happened in 7 years, but Yeager was a worthy winner too.
I agree. I had no issue with him pulling it out. I probably was pulling a little bit for Scotty down the stretch, and that was just more from a DraftKings perspective to him get the first. I was disappointed though. Last week's show, we talked about I did not place mini outright bets. I said I was only going to take Akshay. I didn't even do that. So I didn't place any Akshay bets. And the guys I threw out, Akshay, Novak, Knapp, Yeager, List, and Taylor Moore. So
you would have been, you bet those guys.
The time I didn't bet, I would have had more first round leader if I did my typical outright and first round leaders, and I would have got Yeager as outright. But I'm okay with that. Yeah, I agree. It was good to see him win, and the Joel Dahman celebration with him too was cool. I didn't necessarily realize those guys were tight. Did you see that? Him coming out of the green, he actually stepped in front of his wife.
Well, so this is what I might have to go back and try to find this. I was going to say that as soon as Scotty missed that putt, it felt like NBC really hustled through the end of the broadcast. I had watched it on delay a little bit, but it seemed like, did they even interview him after the event? It just seemed like they kind of quickly were like, get a couple shots of like him and his wife, and then let's get out of here.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hang around. I had to cook dinner. So
Okay, well, so I didn't realize that him and Joel were buddies, but Scotty though eventually undone by the thing that undoes Scotty, and it's his putter, and he's sitting over there. I mean, he hits the ridiculous shot into 18 to, he's obviously going to make birdie. He's going to catch him, and he's going to beat him in a playoff, and he misses a 5-footer.
well, did you saw how he finished around on Friday too, right? It's just something that 18 green just sunk him with the 3-putt from what 4.5 feet on Friday as well.
It was funny, not like, because I came back to the broadcast as Jaeger was putting his birdie putt, and I had it on mute, and so I did not realize that Scotty still had a putt to tie. And so when Jaeger tapped in, he was emotionless. He just kind of like picked up his ball, walked back, and then I was like, well, is this a birdie putt for Scotty? Did he really hit it to 5 feet? And then it didn't even hit the hole. And I was like, okay, that's the end of the golf tournament, huh?
Yeah, that had to be kind of funny.
Yeah.
Overall though, I thought it was a fun week. There was some drama on Thursday. We had 6 guys going into Sunday tied for the lead. Akshay popped up for a little bit. Taylor Moore came out hot. Our boy Thomas Dietrich had plenty of chances if he could have just made a couple putts, and he would led the field in strokes gained putting all week until Sunday. It outside of that, it was a fun day.
It was it was a good sweat, and it just didn't. I don't know. Starting on Sunday, I did not see Thomas Dietrich walking away with the trophy. Like, it was hard with the 6-way tie. It's like Dietrich's going to show up and beat all these guys, and I'm glad that he hung around until midway through the back 9. He kept him. He just didn't make any mistakes, which I think was the most important thing. And then he 3-putts 14, one of the hardest holes on the golf course, and ends up missing an 8-footer for eagle on 17. 16, 8-footer for eagle on 16, 8-footer for birdie on 17. And that was, that's the difference right there. He finished 1 back?
Yeah. And even earlier, like 8 or 9, he missed a makeover 1 too. Yeah. And ended up finishing 1 off.
Yeah.
It felt like he should have been there. But, heck, that's Thomas Dietrich. He's had 3 events this year. He's been first or second going into Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel good, but I haven't been to Calcutta. Let's just get one of those across the line. But last thing I'll ask you, did Scotty pay off his $13,000 price in DFS?
Yes, he was in the optimal. Yeah, I played him everywhere except for one lineup. I will say that one lineup, and this is the benefit of not paying the $13,000 for Scotty. That one lineup was in a single entry, and it was 6 for 6. But that 6 for 6 did nothing on the weekend. At one point in time, I think I was top 20, but ended up making 3x of what the entry fee was. So it's he did. Scotty Finau was the start if you would have got there. Unfortunately, I did not anywhere.
Run through a couple of RTG housekeeping items. The Listener League, JYATD takes down the win at the Houston Open, followed by Spicy 1 and Kins Mobile 1 backing up the first place with a 3rd place. And Kyle just indicated that he finished in 4th place.
I did. I just slid out. That was one of the sweats on Sunday, unfortunately.
And unfortunately, you can't buy very many Powerball tickets with a 4th place finish in the RTG Listener League.
That is correct.
We continue to see really strong results with our high power index plays. And in a lot of cases, those high power index plays are kind of straight chalk, but that chalk is paying off. And so, we would have had Xander at the Valspar and Scotty at the Houston. Right, we're getting the right guys at the top of the power index, and then again a pretty good run of about 75% of our top plays making the cut. I'd like to see that tick up a little bit, but we're kind of trending in the right direction from a high floor standpoint. So RTG in good shape heading into a couple of very big weeks here. Steven Yeager was 8th in our model, picks up the win. Gutsiest play came from Bo McBrayer with Alejandro Tosti. Toasty made a par putt on the back nine on Sunday and just really got fired up, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I saw a few things on Twitter about, the PGA Tour needs guys like Toasty, and not that he's gonna elevate necessarily to the villain role yet, but just guys that he got into it with Finau a little bit, just guys who are out there to ruffle feathers. And if he wants to be that and can flash a few more times, he's willing to take unsolicited rides from volunteer golf carts and get disqualified from Corn Ferry events. So this guy's willing to do a lot of things.
It's I don't mind having somebody that goes against the grain a little bit, since we've lost a lot of those guys. To your point though, Mike, overall felt like it should have. I know I feel like a broken record saying this, but could have been a decent week if you landed in the right spots at the top of the model. You could have played all guys that were over 15% mention share, and had within 2 points of the optimal. Right. So
yeah,
like it was there. Yeah, you obviously have to weed through some things and get a little bit lucky with some of your decisions. But overall, it was a decent week. Just one of these days, we're going to score a little bit better on Sunday. And you're not going to get a guy like Willie Z through the cut and just throw it in reverse.
Another good week for RTG expert Matt Gannon over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He was playing Scotty, Taylor Moore, Sahith, and Kurt Kitayama. So if you were to, obviously Scotty and Taylor Moore both finishing T2, and Zeke kind of put it he put it in gear on the weekend as well. So he climbed up the leaderboard a little bit. The landmines. This is, we talk about weeding through some of the crap. You always got to do that. There's always a few plays in the top of our model that you just got to figure out. How do you find those fades? Jake Knapp, Joel Damon, Jason Day, and Doug Gim. Doug Gim's the one that hurt me. I was a hard fade on Joel. I know you took him in a few spots, but Doug has been on fire, cut making machine the last several weeks, and kind of blew up here.
Yeah, Knapp got me. As we talked about, the guy I highlighted last week. My apologies out there, listeners. I feel like I'm about 3 weeks in a row of giving some guy that just ejects on Thursday morning somehow.
It was like +7 through 9.
Yeah.
You made a couple of birdies on the back nine on Thursday, and you thought, well, if he goes out and shoots like 66 on Friday, there's a chance.
He gave us a glimpse, but then that fire went out quickly.
He did. You got a one and done update in the RTG one and done league?
I do. Yours truly led the way in winnings last week with a Taylor Moore pick. Mm-hmm. I was trying to remember, Mike, did we have our Taylor Moore deep dive on pod or post pod last week?
It's a good question. I asked you for some advice. For another tangential RTG fan, and you said Taylor Moore. Now, our consensus with the gala was the guy to recommend, like if you wanted to go stud, but you had Taylor Moore in the mix. Yeah, and you wrote him down on your betting sheet, which you did take a picture of and show me. So I know you were on him.
Yeah, and at least he was in that recommendation to we'll call him the client. To the client, right? So yeah, I led the way with Taylor Moore last week, taking home $553,000, double the field really of anyone else. But Luke was on Billy Horschel, and then we had 3 folks on Alex Noren and a couple on Tom Hoagie that didn't do too bad from a winnings perspective. So year to date, Champles, our winner from last year, is still leading the way. Seabury, Stogie, and Book right on his tail. Just the tips in 5th. Andy Dingus, I would say Cyclones, and then I'm in 8th, about 1.4 million back. And since Jordan always likes to play this game when he does it, Mike, you're in 12th at 5.2. Go for JD. He's 3rd out of all of us. He's 16th right now. And then our regular call out, I always have to say last place is still Brennan, and you're still double the money from the person ahead of you. Guess what?
Yeah. A couple of interesting. This is what's it gets to this point in the season. Obviously, it's only a quarter of the way through, but in one and done leagues, you get some really interesting results between earnings and score to par. So, in this case, we have our 13th place participant is +9 on the year.
Oh,
But still in 13th place, just behind me by a handful of a few 100,000. But then you have like our 3rd place finisher is a -117, which is 40 strokes better than Champles in the top spot. So it's just interesting how, depending on the weeks that you cashed in or the weeks that you missed a cut, kind of where that number shakes out, and that's why it's all done based on earnings. But just it'll be interesting at the end of the year. Kind of where that ends up. Last thing is the Survivor League, and you were adamant that you got to take Scotty at that point. I know we missed. I know we're out. We let Jordan down. We fell out on the Valspar with Sam Burns, but you're adamant that you got to take Scotty, and I think you're right. I think with only 9 players left. I think he sent us the thing. Not everybody took Scotty. So because not everybody had Scotty left. So it'd be interesting to get the update and see kind of what we're dealing with going into this week and then going into the Masters.
Yeah, I think there was only one Scotty pick, given what's, like you said, like who is left. So this week, I think would be a very interesting selection. This would be one of the harder weeks, actually, in my book, going into the Masters. Because the Masters, you get the live guys back, so there's a lot of choices there. The first place that I think I would look this week is maybe Benny On.
So, and we'll get into I know we want to get in the preview here. I think the strategy for the Valero is to fade the studs, only because you never know. I think we talked about this last week. You never know where their head's at. Like, are they to get some reps, get some swings? Rory goes out on Thursday morning and he's 3 over on the front, and he's like, great, ready to pack my bags. Jordan's, I think Ron Kloss had, how players fare in weeks before majors. Like, a lot of the studs miss cuts. Like, that's just not where their mind is.
Yeah, and I would say I'm less worried about that now, and I guess with this particular field than maybe in the past. But I think there still is what you talked about from Rory's perspective. Does he really want to grind if he's needs to birdie the last 2 on Friday? Yes, right. He's going to try to birdie, but maybe he's like, hey, this shot I should play, this draw, whatever, but this kind of feels like something I might see at 15 at Augusta, and maybe I'll play it this way just to see, right? You never know.
You never know. Well, let's get into that in a second. Let's talk about the Valero Texas Open preview at TPC San Antonio, the Oaks course. We get past winner Corey Connors. He'll be in the field this week. He's actually won this event twice, and that's kind of where my lean was for Survivor League was I ain't gonna need Corey Connors the rest of the way, so I might as well use him here. But full field event, top 65 in ties, making the cut. This is the last full field event before the Masters, and of course, you always get the storyline of who is trying to win to clinch their final ticket for the Masters, as well as jump inside the top 50 if possible, based on who's in the field. So it's worth watching. The golf course is, I don't know, you got a little bit more on the course preview, but it's okay. But I'm here to see some of the Masters warm up.
Yeah, I don't mind watching on TV overall. Some of the finishing holes are kind of fun, right? You got a drivable part 4, 17, 18 has the water feature that's had some craziness in the past, but I it is a course that rewards well-rounded golfers for the most part. Uh, Good drives gained. You don't need to be particularly long or accurate. You just can't get crazy. Uh, what the 16 from Kevin Na in the past, right? If you got way offline in the trees and try to hate punch it out.
I think that's the key. Talk about getting crazy. Re-hitting is always an option. You don't have to go in and try to hack away at cactuses and tanglewood and whatever else is in there. So
Correct. So it's like, I mean, you can miss the fairway. You just can't get too crazy with it. Approach buckets, you have to hit from all yards. You need everything in the bag. It traditionally has a pretty low in greens and regulation percentage. Uh, the holes generally have a fairly good birdie bogey balance. You will have a good amount of sand shots because there is quite a bit of sand out here. You will have to hit some leg putts, but really it just rewards a well-rounded golfer. And you've seen different guys win and different paths of victory in the past. You have Corey Connors winning twice, team no putt. You have Spieth winning with the traditional Spieth magic beans around the green, putting and with around the green play. But you've had also some guys win being fairly long off the tee too. So it really can be all over the place. The one thing that has traditionally stuck out every year is par five scoring. The par fives here are tough. Not all of them are reachable in two. So it's really more of your strategy to par fives and making sure you can score on the scoreable holes. If you can reach it in two, you got to be long to do so. But the guys that can lay up and throw a dart with a wedge and make the putt, they've had success here at the JJ Spawn style as well.
Yeah, interestingly enough, if I look back at the last 7 champions here, 2 of them gained more than 3 strokes around the greens. You had Spieth, like you said, the magic means, and then JJ Spawn as well. Everybody else negative or right around 0. And I think to your point, it's just kind of all over the place. You can do a little bit of everything. And like you'd expect to see, like these guys all had good ball striking weeks, but Corey Connors gaining almost 12 strokes ball striking in 2019 when he won here, and then almost 10 strokes last year when he won. So yeah, all right. I like the idea of well-rounded golfers, and I think we have a couple of those in the top of the model that are catching my attention.
It's a good segue. Benny on, as we threw out already, is leading the way so far. 9,000 salary, 43% mention share, and our MPI loves him at this point in time. Matt Gannon's on him, Landon Selensky, and some of our high-end contributors. So far, he's got 100 on the MPI. Corey Connors and Hideki Matsuyama, both also at 44% mention share, 9.4 and 10.6 respectively. MPI likes Corey Connors so far a little bit more, our horse for course really this week. And next we have a trio at 38% mention share, Alex Noren, Ludwig, and Mavic McNeely. So far, Ludwig leads the way in MPI out of those guys. What do you think, Mike?
Well, I got 3 names that you just mentioned, and a fourth that I wanted to call out that caught my attention. So Ben on, first of all, you see a guy jump off the chart like this, especially someone at $9,000 this week. You say, what is he doing lately that would warrant this? Well, he missed the cut at the Players. He lost almost 10. I think he lost almost 10 strokes on approach at TPC Sawgrass, and that was his first missed cut since the Rocket Mortgage in July of last year. He's been on a fantastic run, 8th at the Arnold Palmer, 21st at the Cognizant, 16th at the Genesis, also finished 2nd in Hawaii and 4th at the Century. So he's played very well this year, and he's doing it in all parts of the game. Really, I'm looking at Sawgrass as an anomaly, and like we know, at a course like that, you get weather, you get on the bad side of the draw, and you start getting sideways in the water. Your scores can go up pretty quickly. So he's above average on distance, and I think he's got the right tools to play well here. And $9,000 price is great. He's going to be the second guy in most of your lineups.
I completely agree.
Yeah. So
with you on board there.
Definitely warranted. The only thing we'll just take a quick peek at here, his history at the Valero. He was 6th here last year. Missed the cut, and then he was 7th in 2019. So he's got some strong history here as well. So I like Ben on. I did not check. Let's just check his where he's coming. Like I must have messed up the ownership piece here. So I don't know where he's coming on ownership at the moment. What do you got to read on that?
I think he's going to be fairly owned.
Yeah.
I don't have it right in front of me. Never mind.
All right. Well, moving on. I think my stud this week is going to be Ludwig. Ludwig missed the cut here last year, or actually 2 years ago in 2022, but his form is generally pristine. 8th at the Players, 25th at the Arnold Palmer, 19th at the Genesis, 2nd at Pebble Beach. He's been playing great. He's been playing great in great fields, gaining in all 4 phases of the game, hits the ball well above average in terms of distance. And you're going to be able to get him at 10.5. So, a little bit of salary to save from, going Rory or even Hideki, who, spoiler, Hideki, I'm fading hard this week only because I think his mind's at Augusta. And I don't think, as we know with Hideki, like any little tinge in his body and he's on the next flight to Georgia. So, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan there. I'd rather drop down $100 and go to Ludwig, who I think has got plenty to play for this week. If I want to save a little money, I like Mav. We've liked Mav all year, riding a 8 event cut streak, and we finished 45th at the Valspar. Didn't play at the Houston, but 9th at the Players. Again, doing it all the right ways. I think he's strong enough off the tee. Like you said, you want a guy that's going to have a good drives gain number. I like Mav here. $7,400 feels like a really good price for a guy who I think could, easily top 5. And then I don't love the $8,900 price point on Billy Horschel, but gosh, it feels like everybody in the golf community thinks this guy's going to win this week. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Like I feel like he should be 7,900, and just feels mispriced there.
Yeah, Billy is certainly getting some steam. I finally did get to the ownership for you. So far, Rick Rungood has him at 19% ownership. And
for Benny?
For Billy.
Oh,
and
okay.
I think a lot of cards I've seen this week have Billy on them. I think a lot of people are betting him. Benny is at 18%. I'm with you, everything you said there. Like I said, I'm fully on board at 9,000 Benny, especially for those cash contests. I do like Alex Noren as well. Another guy that's really getting bet up. His number opened in the 40s, maybe even some 50s in some places, was already down to the 30s. But he's $8,700. Andy Lack, Spencer Aguilar's on him. His last missed cut was at the Fortinet. In the last 3 times out, he's been 9th, 19th, 11th, and he's gained across the board in all 3. So just a great form again going into this, a decent fit for the course. I like where he's at, especially at only 8,700. And I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm going to go here. I tease this a little bit in text, Mike, but when I'm looking at who has done well here in the past and where one of our boys' game is currently, I have to think it could be a Keith Mitchell week. He's only $7,600. Coughlin in between media's on him. Len Hochberg's on him. So let's just look at his form. 17th, 19th, 9th, 3rd, 13th cut. So sorry, that was not the 3rd. It was the 73rd. That's that one. Wrote that one. So let's redo that. 17th, 19th, 9th, 73rd, 13th cut. So he was cut in Houston. But I think people were a little sour how we finished Valspar, so it didn't take down too many people there. It's 12% ownership or so. But he has gained 10 strokes plus ball striking in 2 of those events. He did in Mexico. He did it to Valspar. But he's lost 3 or more strokes putting in 3 of those events as well. But he did have 1 positive putting weekend there at the Cognizant. So he's shown the ability to right the ship. And you just look historically, yes, he has been really up and down the putter of his career. But at the Players, he lost 6 strokes putting. You have to really go way back in his lineage to see where he's lost 6 strokes putting and then followed that up with 4 strokes putting to Valspar. But he's been elite with the ball striking. So if there's ever Team No Putt, Corey Connors week, who can replicate that mold, ball strike the heck out of it, and just putt average? Keith Mitchell certainly looks like he could be your guy. So obviously we want him to win for other reasons. I'm intrigued. I'm not going to put him in a cash lineup, but maybe a GPP sprinkle and a little teaser to what's to come there as well. And then lastly, my bomb of the week is Mr. Joe Highsmith. We got a little bit of him, Mr. Floppy Hat. It's Floppy Hat season going on right now with Malnati. Highsmith got a lot of TV action on Saturday, Sunday.
His hat is floppier than most, right? Like he's got a floppier hat than Damon and Malnati.
It's a very floppy. It's the extra floppy version of the floppy hat. He ended up finishing T21. I was actually surprised when I went and looked. But hey, $5,300 last week, you would have been very happy with that. He also finished 6th in Puerto Rico. You know, he's up and down. You're going to have that at $5,800. But he's shown the ability to pop and climb up the leaderboard a bit, which in a field like this with no motivations and somebody that's also finished 33rd at Farmers, 34th at American Express, I'll take it for $5,800.
This week, do you want somebody who's not in the Masters field to win? Like as a fan, is that important to you?
Yes. Well, that would be fun. But given DFS and given betting and that stuff, I also think it would be very fun if Rory just went out and blitzed the field this week, just to build the steam into next week and like open up some possibilities to get some leverage with or some ownership and relief and a little bit better odds on Scotty.
So basically build up the Rory narrative, attract a whole bunch of attention next week, and then be able to get Scotty at 20% owned instead of 30.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, for sure. I think
because you're gonna bring in all the fish that assume Rory's gonna play well at Augusta, which we know isn't gonna happen.
I mean, he had that one amazing Sunday where he stormed back and you claimed all day he was gonna win and he finished 3rd. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I do think you being someone like Joe Highsmith, like it would be pretty cool to see a rookie or a sophomore come out here at the Valero and punch their ticket to the Masters, especially somebody that's really on an upward trajectory that, could even like do something kind of crazy. Last year, didn't we see, was it Sam Bennett? Wasn't he competing for a period of time? So like that, I think the Masters it's really fun to have something like that go on. So yeah, let's have it be one of your guys. Keith would be a good one too.
Keith would be so cool. Like
he belongs at Augusta.
It would almost probably be dangerous for us, but I would take
it. All right. Well, any other takes or tips you have on the Valero Texas Open? Someday we're going to go, I think, right? Like this is one of our bucket list courses.
Yeah, we're 100% going to be there someday. May have some ends to this event, just didn't work this year. Need to get the public school district around here to have a different time for their spring break. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna get it to work out. This would be a fun one because we could spend like the weekend in Austin and head down to San Antonio on Thursday or something. It'd be a great weekend.
Yeah, hit Riverwalk. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got a name game teed up if you're interested.
Who won last week, Mike?
Last week we gifted, and when I say we, it's usually you gifting the listeners the winning team. It wasn't particularly close, a 15-point win for the listeners. They took Davis Thompson, Alex Noren, and Pearson Coody, which are 3 cut makers. None of those guys really flash, but 3 cut makers. The rest of us we're not. Well, I should say, Kyle, you did have 3 cut makers as well, but just they were slightly worse with Kitayama, Moore, and Cameron Champ. So our draft order going into our standings, I should say, our standings as of today are I have 6 wins on the year. The listeners have 4, and Kyle, you have 3. So you have slipped behind the listeners. Jordan's still with the goose egg.
He got so cocky last year too. I love to
I
see
know.
it.
I know.
The
Well,
funny thing is, he had 2 chumps that did it really well, but Jason Day just sunk him last week.
Yep. So this week, just given some limited capacity to do anything super creative that required a lot of research, I went with a bit of an OG game. I went with just pure first name teams, and this week we had 6 Bens in the field, 5 Kevins, and I'll say 6-ish Ryans. We'll get to that in a second.
Oh, wow. That's kind of
It
wild.
is kind of wild. I do think it when I see 6 Bens, I'm like, whoa, man, what was going on? And I should probably get the respective ages of them, but just a lot of Bens, and they're probably what is their mid-20s and to 30s.
If you told
but here
me
we go.
this many Bens, Kevins, and Ryans, I would have guessed this was a golf field in
20 years
2000. Yeah, 2010.
Yeah, so that's what I think is really interesting. It's like it does feel a little bit, or it's just these are very common names, regardless compared to everything else. As people that have had kids relatively recently, the statistics I know about baby names and the hours I've spent on the Social Security website of baby names, yeah, we've been there. All right, here we go. Draft order: me, then Jordan, then you, and then the listeners. Team 1 is going to be Ben Griffin with Kevin Yu and Ryan McCormick. So these are all going to be kind of 3 scrubby lineups, all coming in between 17,500 and 17,800. Team 2, Ben Silverman, past winner Kevin Chappell, and Ryan Fox. Team 3, Ben Martin, Kevin Doherty, and Ryan Moore. And Team 4, Ben Coles, Kevin Streelman, and Ryo Hisatsun. I said Ryan-ish. I feel like that's the Japanese version of Ryan.
You passed the Ryan to put in Rio just because you wanted me to say his name, didn't you?
I just wanted to make that joke. Yes. So I get to pick first, and I don't know. It always feels like I'm like rigging it. But when you take 12 scrubs and put the price points all within $300, we didn't really get to these names in the model. But I'm going to go.
Narrative plays here.
There probably are. I mean, obviously, like I said, you could go past Champ. I do think I like guys like Kevin Yu, Ben Griffin. Certainly, Ben Griffin is the most expensive player in this group, along with Rio. And guys like Kevin Streelman, you wouldn't be surprised to see him top 10. But I'm gonna be gutsy. I'm gonna go Team 3. Ryan Moore playing a little bit better. Kevin Doherty flashed a little bit as a rookie so far, and Ben Martin kind of all over the place.
That was not the gutsy play. That was the play. That's where I would have gone first. Ryan Moore, this is an old man course. Kevin Doherty, up and comer. I like it.
Okay. All right. Good for me.
So now we get to assign Jordan.
We do. He always likes to take Team 4, but I feel like I don't want to take away Ben Coles for you. Big Ben Coles fan here.
We're giving him Team 4 because Ben Coles, after a somewhat hot start, where I was very excited about my rare cards value, he's struggled, and Rio has been my guy for so much of the year. It's just time to release the bird from the nest. I will take Team 2, Silverman, Chappell, and Ryan Fox. I'm also a sucker for Ryan Fox, so why not?
Yeah, you said length helps here a little bit. Obviously, Ryan can move it off the tee, so it'll be interesting. There's going to be one of these guys going to pop.
For sure,
we'll be fine. So, Valero, in the books, what do you got on the betting card?
Well, I've learned from last week, you don't sit on the sidelines. You're never going to win that way, right? So I like your take on Decky. That's why I'm not super interested from DFS perspective outside, because it is such a good course fit. He's in great form, but yeah, we've seen that guy eject way too often, especially in person. But in case he doesn't eject, in case he sticks to that form, I'd like him to bet. So I did go 2 units on decade 20. Thought that was a pretty good number.
Pretty good number,
Especially
for this
like,
field.
yeah, Rory being so much shorter, Ludwig being so much shorter. Uh, he hasn't popped as much as I thought in our model, but I saw some good narrative around Harris English this week, so jumped on that right away Monday morning. He's at 45. Lucas Glover at 80. Again, a guy that can just stripe it. Hope it's a good team no putt week. He had the 3 weeks he found he could putt last year, so maybe we can get back to that. And I bet Keith too. I'm just going all in on Keith this week. I just want to be right. It's just gonna happen. And then threw in a little half unit on Mr. Joe Highsmith, 300 to 1. And then just for fun, I did do a top 40 parlay of Glover, Maverick, McNeely, your boy, and then Highsmith as well. Which is fun about that if it pays enough to pay for the week. If I just hit that bad.
What is the 3-leg parlay on those guys paying for top 40?
I don't have it right in front of me, but they were all plus odds, and Highsmith up at 300. Say it was like
Okay.
1,200, something like that.
Okay. I'm trying to draw some parallels between if I were to just bet like top 40 parlays in a sports book versus DraftKings Pick 6, which has enabled PGA Tour, as they've gotten pretty much every sport on board here. And I had a decent payout on a 5 of 6 parlay, which you can miss one if you put enough legs in. And basically only bet players that were either top 40 or to make the cut. And because I do feel like there's a bit of, I'm gonna say an edge, but there's a bit of an angle of like they give you some layups to basically finish top 40. And I'm just curious, like if I string together 3 or 4 of those, what's paying out more? So but there were a couple of good ones. I was just trying to grab it here. I should have had this teed up, but there were a couple of guys that I thought, gosh, just feel like, Russell Henley top 40, Adam Scott top 40, Brian Harmon top 40.
Yeah.
Are those guys not in the those guys are in the field, right?
Yeah. So I think this is a great conversation.
Ben on
Especially
top 40. Like these I'm not saying these are slam dunks, but like pretty good numbers for to just try to hit one of these prize, whatever you call these parlay pick contest thingies.
if Minnesota continues the momentum that we are, at least I am tracking very closely towards the potential for legalized betting here within this calendar year, we should really know in about the next 5 weeks. I think this would be a great conversation to have sometime. There is some great resources out there in the golf Twitter universe around Byron Lindekew, Model Maniac. We talked about it as well. House Money, I believe, has gone into it a little bit. If you don't get me wrong, the outrights are fun, but if you want to do it from a longevity perspective, really trying to find the top 10, top 20, top 40 markets, more so the top 20, top 40 markets, is a better path to sustainable and profitable golf betting.
Yeah, for sure.
So
very few people are interested in sustainable, profitable golf betting. Most people are just interested in injecting, action juice into their veins.
correct. So the way I have to bet right now, because of the geographical restrictions of when I can, I have to fire everything much quicker than I would normally like to.
Yeah.
Which limits my ability to take advantage of the market sometimes.
Last comment I want to make on the Valero before we wrap things up. There are a number of studs and semi-studs in this field that we did not talk about that I want to make sure people realize are playing in this golf tournament. Max Homa, Fitzpatrick, Spieth, Morikawa, Fleetwood. Those guys are all in the field, yet we're not seeing them chart out like anywhere significant in our model right now, which is purely based on who's talking about who. So it does not mean that they're not popping statistically based on how you run a custom model, but like based on where the expert attention is. Colin, Tommy, Max, like those guys are playing. But what do you think the deal is there?
I mean, a lot of those guys are not playing great golf. That's part of it. But I find it interesting, like a guy like Brian Harmon, who is playing pretty good golf.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of surprised he's playing here, to be honest. Like, given he's playing.
8,600 in this field. I mean,
Yeah, I can't. I'm very
he missed the
surprised.
cut at the Valspar, but he just played so great before that.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not getting a little more attention. I get it though with Colin. I actually was planning on and didn't get to it today. A deep dive on Colin of like his finishes just have not been great, right? So I want to do a comparison of like, the last, Colin's best finish here, over the last 10 weeks has been X, and in that time frame, here's people that have had two finishes better in that time frame. Like so he won at the Zozo, right? And he was fifth at the Century, but he's been cut 14th, 19th, cut 45th. And unless it's we're saying is a huge approach course, but you look at his profile, he's lost an approach 2 weeks in a row. Like essentially the only reason he made the cut and did all right at the Players was his around the green play. And the same thing at Pebble Beach, he lost on approach and it was around the green play. Like that's not the good Colin Morikawa. So I just think people see that statistical profile and like, don't want to go there. I think Homa is maybe someone that could sneak up a little bit. I play Fitz way too often. I feel like he's a guy that bites me a lot, but I think this could be a great Fitz course. So he's kind of on my short list for a GPP perspective because he's not getting that narrative and you can maybe get an ownership break there too. But I think that's a great thing to highlight. I think there's some opportunities this week if you really want to pivot.
All right, Kyle, good stuff. I'm excited. I'm excited now for the Valero, and I think let's make a little bit of money so we got something to spend on the Masters in the next 9 days. So there we go. Valero Texas Open preview in the books. We'll be back in a week with the results of that. You can find our content on Twitter at RTG Podcast DFS, our YouTube channel, Reading the Green, and any major podcast platform. New tournament previews out every Wednesday morning. Super pumped to see you guys in the flesh for a in-person Masters preview next week. See you.